And this meeting is for our LJ Realty team. And we're going to talk about interest rates, what's in the news, and we want to two topics that we want to talk about today is one is wholesaling. You should guys should know what it is, how it works, and how you guys can be part of that and make some money out of that. And on top of that, we want to you guys to focus in 2024 as being a listing agent. Some of you guys already closed on more than enough deals on the buyer side, but we want you to start focusing on the listing side. Okay, so we're gonna go over all the right questions to ask your homeowners. Okay, so let's get started with our interest rates. So as of yesterday, Freddie Mac's website had it interest rates of 7.03, very similar to what happened last week, and they were steady around that interest rate in that same frame there. According to your Mortgage News Daily, they were around 7.09, and your FHA were around 6.42. So we usually use your monthly mortgage payment here for $500,000 loan. But we said, let's say, how about if someone wants to purchase two-family house, and maybe they want to purchase $1 million house, they're putting down 200,000, and they're going to get a mortgage for 800,000. That person, if they were to go with FHA loan, they're looking at around $5,000 per month, principal and interest payment, versus your 5371 for your conventional. Okay, so again, your client will depend on their situation, what is their credit scores like, what is their down payment look like, and all that good stuff, and they can go with either FHA or conventional. The loan officers will definitely give them in details, hey, which program is better for them. If you had a choice, just for your knowledge, if you have a choice between FHA and conventional, always go with conventional. Okay, so a lot can change in 1 month, right? Things are changing, and we want to see what happened in about a month. Every week we are seeing changes happening in the interest rate. But when you're looking at, if you haven't spoken to your client in a month, some of you guys haven't spoken to them in 2 months or longer, that's a good time now to follow up with them because the interest rates are dropping, and you want to be one of the first ones to notify them before another agent steal your clients. So you can look at it as of last week, December 7th, 2023, they were around 7.04, 7.04 here. Previous peak that we saw was 8.03. So almost one full percentage difference there, right? And then a year ago, this is where we want to be. This is where we want to see the interest rate come down to 6.29. And we're going to go through different scenarios there. And previous low, we will not probably see 5.99 anytime soon. We're going to be hovering from sevens to sixes first. Okay. So you guys can see that currently, if your client asks you, hey, what are the interest rates currently? It should be around seven, instead of eights. Right. So next, let's talk about these. This chart right here shows you all the homeowners that do not have any mortgage, around 40%. So that's a good number. This is where your client wants to see or be at. Yes, sir. Yes. Oh, really? This is what I mean. Okay. So you guys were just seeing me. Let me see here. So guys, yeah, please, I beg you guys, if you guys do not see these slides in the morning, if you just see my face, let me know. So this way, yeah. Okay. So this is the chart. Well, this is the first slide here, 7.03 I mentioned. This is the second one that I mentioned with $800,000. This is the monthly payment that your client's looking at for your principal and interest, around $5,300. Okay. This slide here, this is really important. So I want to go over that with you guys. This is what we currently seeing, 7.04 here, compared to what we have seen previous peak, which was in October 19, 2023 at 8.03. This is where the even some clients were concerned about just canceling their deals because they were seeing such high interest rates. And where we want to be is where about a year ago was at 6.29, and we wish that we can be at this level. Right now, we're looking at around 7.04. Okay. So again, guys, if you guys do not see the slides, just let me know right away. Okay. So this chart right here, you guys can see that there's about 40% of the homeowners who do not have any mortgages. So this is where yes, sir. Yeah, Mr. Sun. Yeah. Yes, better credit scores, the better interest rate they will get. Worse credit scores, the worse interest rates they will get, or higher interest rate. Simple as that. 100%. Yes, yes, that is true. So when we're talking about these interest rates, these are your national averages. These, how do they, like Mortgage News Daily, how are they getting this number here? This is where they're seeing that, hey, all these applications that were under contract and they already have an mortgage application going on, and these are the interest rates that were locked in. So that's a really, a good number to look at. Hey, all of these nationally, not just one or two person, hundreds of thousands of applications, right? So this is a really solid number when we're looking at an average. Will your client get that? Probably they can if everything, if the credit score is on their level, and they're purchasing a single family and all that, right? If it's going to be not just the credit scores, but let's just say they're going to purchase as an investment. Anytime you're getting an investment property, you're going to pay a higher interest rate because you won't live there, and there's a little bit higher risk in that loan, right? So when we're looking at these averages, this is a nice icebreaker. Hey, this is what your national averages are. You can get a little bit lower or a little bit higher from there. Okay. Next, guys, let's talk about your. These are the These are the properties, or these are the homeowners actually that do not have any mortgages. Around 40%. Again, as a realtor, this is what you should be striving for yourself. Let's say you do own a house right now. Your goal should be, hey, how could I pay that off? Let's just say you just bought a house today. There's no way you're gonna pay that off in 1 to 2 years. It's a game plan for that, right? What I highly recommend, our loan officers are already doing it, but for our realtors, is that start making a little bit extra payment towards your mortgage. I don't care if it's $100, $200, $300. It will have a big impact on your the years that you're going to save, the years itself, and the interest rates that you're going to save over time. So it could be a flat fee, $100 per month, or just a lump sum, $5,000 a year, whatever you guys can afford. If you have a mortgage, pay down the principal much as you can, and you guys can be part of this 40% down the line. Okay. So what are we looking at if you want to qualify as 7% today? So if we're just giving you one scenario and we'll compare with 6% here. So at 7%, if someone is making $125,000 down payment, they have about $80,000, monthly debt around 250, and we're going to go with today's average around 7%. They can afford probably a house around $700,000. Okay. Now we're gonna have a problem here, man. So there's a construction going on next door, guys. So let me know if it's too much a bother or not. So the DTI, we're looking at around 49%. So this person can qualify up to $700,000 property. Okay. So how about same specs here, but at 6%, the same person can go from 700 to 771. So it makes a huge difference when we will start seeing interest rates around 6%. Can everyone still hear me, or is this too much static, or is too much noise in the background? It's all right. Okay, sounds good. It's fine. Sounds good. Okay, it's right in my ear though. Okay. So as buying power at 6% for a single family. Earlier we showed you two family scenario, but if they're going with a single family and they're going to have a loan for $500,000 at 6%, look at the monthly payment. As long as they're seeing less than $3,000, rest assured that this person, if they're renting, is an easier way for them to make this transition now when we start seeing the interest rates around 6%. So their buying power, let's just say they went from 6.75 to 6%. When that does happen, you're looking at from person that's qualifying for 462, they can find a property up to $500,000 for the loan amount. Okay. Big difference when these interest rates are dropping, and that's what we want to see. Maybe you guys saw some memes online where the realtors are dancing and all that good stuff, that hey, things are changing. They're mentioning it because of this. The interest rates are coming down. There should be more activity all of a sudden. Just remember COVID time. During COVID time, you were not trying to find clients. The clients were trying to find you. That hey, I see this property, I really like it, I want to purchase it. That is not happening, or that did not happen in 2023, and hopefully things will change in 2024. Okay, so three things that most of these experts are projecting in the next year in 2024. Three things can happen. One is that no one knows the future, right? Nobody knows. I cannot guarantee, hey, tomorrow the interest rate will drop or increase. Loan officers go through that hurdle all the time. Anybody that's trying to lock in an interest rate today, and they'll say, hey, let me lock in today, but a week later they might start regretting it because the interest rates are falling. Right? There's no perfect time. There's no perfect way to know when and these interest rates will drop and what level they'll drop to. But what we can project, that scenario number one, is that the rates could fall around 6.5. If it does happen, on one possible scenario for that is that it will happen the first half of 2024, right? So if it right now we're averaging around 7, just few about a month ago we saw around 8, they came down to 7, and if they come down another 50 basis points, we're looking at 6.5. So this scenario here is definitely possible in the first half of 2024. Okay. The next scenario that you have is your 6%, that it drops another percentage. That if that happens, it'll be all good news for everyone. It'll be an easier transition for the seller to make that, hey, let me sell this house now. For the buyers, hey, instead of 8%, I can get it for 6% now. And the realtors, it will be an easy communication with your clients. Hey, you were at 7%, now we're looking at 6%. Maybe you want to make that move, right? So the second scenario is that it can fall down to 6% probably by end of next year, right? Or the last scenario is that nothing happens. Yes, Mr. Hassan? Sorry, you had a question? Yes. Yeah. They're just projecting. So different experts have, yeah, yeah, yeah. Correct. Correct. That further down, end of 2024, they'll go even lower than that, right? That's what they're projecting. Yep. And the last scenario is that nothing changes. It just stays steady. And if we're at 7.04 or 7.09 right now, maybe it'll drop to 6.99, 6.8. And it doesn't give that full drop of 50 basis points in no time. It takes some time to come down to that. So we will see, in our honest opinion, is like the way it's heading, that even if they're around 6.5, it's a little bit easier call. We don't think that the interest rate will drop to 6% right away, but just like as we mentioned here, let's see what 2024 will bring. We're monitoring these on weekly basis, so we'll see how that goes. Okay. So inflation data is good news for real estate in 2024. This is what's in the news, guys. So your inflation rate, if someone asks you, you guys should know this now because we're mentioning it every month. They're around 3.1. The target for these companies is at seven. Was at 2%. The Fed wants it as a 2%, but we're running around 3.1%. Okay. So today is the meeting that's going to be happening. So around 2 o'clock, you guys can tune into different channels and see what the Feds are saying. But let's see what we're projecting, right? that as of right now, that we did not have a hike last time, so hopefully we will not have a hike this time. And hopefully there's some people out there, just like how we mentioned earlier, that the Fed will start cutting rates. If they start cutting rates, then the interest rate will drop dramatically. We don't think that it will happen right away, but few months down the line, hopefully we can start seeing these interest rates come down and these Feds start cutting some interest rates on their behalf. Okay. Next, guys, here were some headlines for the news. One was cooling mortgage rates boosted new listings in November. Again, it's for the sellers. If you can find a new house now and you can afford to buy that new house with the current interest rate, then you want to sell this house. But there's some scenarios that they do not want to sell, which we'll talk about in a little bit down the line. But the listings are increasing, and we want you to be part of that. Okay. Affordability flopped in 2023. We know that, right? Anybody that had a pre-approval in 2023, there was a good chance they were not happy with the number that they saw. They thought that maybe they can afford a house for $600,000, and they go to Terlochin, and Terlochin says, "Hey, no, you only qualify for $500,000." They're not satisfied because they just don't qualify for much. Why? Higher interest rate. Now the same people will qualify for a little bit more, so we will see a brighter New Year's for sure. Okay. The last one was that rates falls 20 basis points. When anytime you see BPS, it just means basis points to 7.03, and that's what we just witnessed just now. All right, guys. Any questions so far on the interest rates or anything on the news? All right, guys. I like this headline here. It says, "You're a Grinch, homeowner." You know, there are some truth to that. It's just that if the sellers don't want to sell, what do we have as realtors to sell? Nothing. Without inventory, right? We don't have any products. We're not selling any, Apple products or any product. Our product is the service for that homeowner. If the homeowner doesn't want to sell, they simply we cannot, sell because there's no inventory for us. So we live off these listings that we have on the market, right? So that's why I found this headline a little funny here. And you look at these stats here, where we say, hey, as a whole United States, the prices are increasing or the prices are decreasing. Different counties have different rates of growth, right? Some of them are a lot more than others. But Nassau County and Suffolk County was one of the highest counties with growing year over year prices. So you're looking at almost 20% price increases in New York and Nassau, which we serve, a lot of our agents serve, and you see that really on the high end here. Okay. What does that mean? Hopefully, that year over year, the prices were already increasing to this level. And even if the prices don't increase, as long as we see the prices, the properties on the market, the prices should not be our concern as realtors. As long because you guys have the tools to whatever, if they're asking for 1.2 million and you can do the comps and say, hey, no, it's really worth 1.1, maybe you can get that listing, right? So if even if the prices come down a little bit next year, which we highly doubt it will not, but the growth already has been really on the high end for Nassau here. Okay. So what will happen to home prices in 2024? One is that it's supply and demand, right? If more people will qualify for the same house, the prices will increase. And we just mentioned that they were already increased around 20% in Nassau. So even if they don't increase as high, right? Even if it's just maybe 2%, 3%, 5%, whatever it is, it's still better. It's still going to be on the high end simply because of your supply and demand. There'll be more buyers for that same property. The prices will increase. If you're the listing agent, you will start getting more offers because there's more people qualifying for your house, right? There's, on the other hand, there will be some counties where the homeowners find some relief in the slower home prices or price growth, right? Similar situation. Queens will be a little different than Nassau compared to Brooklyn or Bronx. So just feed your clients whatever inventory that we have available. Okay. Even if you can see here that even if the prices decelerate, even if it comes down 2.4% in 2024 or 2.7 in 2025 is still not a big deal, right? The prices, that's not the issue, is the inventory that we have. All right, guys. Next, guys, we want to talk about wholesaling. If someone asks you, you are a realtor, you guys should know what a wholesaling is and the concept of it. And let's say if you guys want to be part of it, you guys can make some money out of that, right? So before I go, does anyone knows or want to mention what is wholesaling in real estate? Anyone? Yes, sir. Perfect. So they're selling the contract itself, right? They're not selling the property. They're going under contract and then they're selling it to someone else. Perfect. Yep. Anybody else? But I think yeah, you nailed it. So let's talk about that, right? So wholesaling is a real estate investment, is a way for you to purchase and sell a real estate contracts without spending too much time or money right off the bat. If done correctly, you can walk away with a solid finder's fee without ever having to take possession of the property, right? Wholesale real estate is a short. Yes, sir. Yep. No, no, go ahead. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Perfect. So yes, that's exactly it. When I'm done with this, mention a couple of pros and cons from your end as well, and tell me if there's something that you agree or disagree with these slides. Okay. All right. Yep. So wholesale. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Sa- No, no. Go ahead. Yeah. 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 I'm about to go through that right now. Yep. So wholesale is going to be a short term, right? You want to be an investment. You're going to be an investor in that property where you want to find undervalued properties, which is really hard to find these days, and put them under contract with the seller. Okay. So the next is going to be you finding the buyer itself too, right? The next buyer then makes the necessary home improvements. The next person that who's going to actually close on that deal is going to make those improvements and either choose to sell that property or rent out that property, right? In other words, you as a wholesaler never take possession of that property. Instead, you secure it and then you sell the contract, right? So what are going to be the steps for this for the beginners here? One is that you guys should know there's different laws for different states and all that for wholesaling itself, right? So you guys can read up on that. Second is that you want to find distressed property or motivated sellers who wants to sell that property, right? You want to determine the ROI, right? So your return on investment. So if you're going to put in $400,000, if you're purchasing it for $400,000, you need to find out what is going to sell for, what your renovation is going to be. So you need to know what your net profit will be for that, right? Then you want to make an offer, you want to draw up the contract, you want to find a buyer, and you want to assign that contract, right? So finding a property itself, right? So or you're finding a motivated seller is basically just like getting a listing. Hey, I want to find this, or I have a buyer for you, or are you willing to sell this property? Here their situation, right? As long as it's a distressed property, you don't want to do this, or you cannot do this if it's a brand new construction property, right? They're asking for the premium, they're asking on the higher end, they're not gonna sell that. That's already too late. You want to find a person or a property that's going to be is going to be a beat up place where it needs a lot of renovations, right? So you want to look for distressed properties. You want to contact the seller. Hey, I want to, I'm a realtor, I have plenty of buyers, and or you want to find a buyer before that. Hey, I have a buyer for you and I want to be under contract, but instead of going under contract under their name, you would go under contract under your name. Okay, so it's not like every one of you, all of us would have enough funds to be on that position. But the goal here is that you guys should know the process of that, right? Maybe you have another investors and you guys want to be part of that. You guys can do that, right? Then you want to know, because when you're looking at the property, you want to know what kind of renovations it does need, right? So be very realistic with it. Do not try to go on the on the lower end, rather go on the higher end, because when you start working on something, there could be additional expenses, right? So you got to find out the true cost, what's going to cost you guys for that property itself to just to renovate. And then you want to put up an offer. Okay, the offer should be, hey, I want to purchase this for 500 or $400,000, and it might be worth $500,000. So you guys have that $100,000 gap in there, right? When you're drawing up the contract, you're drawing it up where you have your attorneys. The seller is selling you the contract or selling you the property. They have no idea about the other buyer as of yet, unless you're really prepared and you already have a buyer and you're going to assign that contract, right? Once you found that buyer, now that same contract, nothing changes from that contract's outlining except for the price itself. So if I bought it for $400,000, if I want to wholesale it, maybe I'll wholesale it for $425,000, putting $25,000 more than what I purchased it for. Now the new buyer, now he's happy with 425 because it's still less than $500,000 value that we're saying, and you are making $25,000 profit on that, and you simply assigning that contract to the new buyer. The new buyer is the one that's who's going to make sure that everything is good with the property and see their renovations, cost makes sense and all that, and they're the one who's going to the closing table and closing that deal, right? So how's that wholesaling different than house flipping? House flipping is doing the whole process yourself, and wholesaling is you just getting the contract, it's under your name, and you're assigning it for another person who's going to actually close on that deal. Now you want to ask questions, Mr. Hassan here? So the contract itself. Mhm. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Mm-hmm. So let's just stop right there. So you won't be as a buying agent there, right? You're treating yourself as a buyer. So you would have to say that, hey, and you just can't bluff either. You just can't say, hey, I want to purchase it and then hopefully I can sell this. No. One is that you got to make sure that, let's just say you don't have a buyer and you cannot find a buyer and you're already under contract with your earner's deposit. You can lose that money if you're not well qualified to purchase it yourself. So let's just get that right, right? So this, go ahead. Correct. Correct. So if you're really expert in wholesaling, you would have buyers, pool of buyers. Hey, I have this property that's so because it's already under contract with your name, they cannot go directly to the seller, right? Because they're already under contract. But the person who's buying it yourself, you just got to make sure that you're well qualified. Sometime we see that there's people, group of 3 or 5 people, they get together, they form a company, and then they purchase it under that company name. So but when the closing time comes, they don't close it under their company name. They've already found another buyer and they're making 20 to $40,000 profit and just sell that contract, right? So it is a lot of risk. There's a lot of risk. So there's not, we can't just say, hey, it's very easy. It's that. No. So get yourself out as as a realtor. This is going to be you as an investor. You're investing in this property, you're going under contract, you're finding another buyer, and you're selling that, right? So end of the day, yeah. So end of the day, the seller will get paid what you offered them, $400,000. Even though you're going under contract for 425 with the new buyer, the seller, that $25,000 profit is going to you. Okay. So if someone mentions, hey, do you know about wholesaling or real estate wholesaling? At least you guys got the concept of it, right? That's how the process works. We say if you guys should know, if someone asks you, hey, what's the difference between wholesaling and flipping? Flipping is you actually going under contract, you're not finding another buyer, you're the one who's closing on that deal, and you're going to do some renovations to that property, and you want to sell that property for a higher profit, right? Obviously you want to make profit of it, but there's no other buyer involved. You're simply getting it from the seller and you're flipping it yourself. Okay. So, what are some cons for wholesaling? Number one, the income is not guaranteed, right? It's not like we already know this is not 9 to 5 job and it does not offer any benefits or anything like that, right? If you want to wholesale real estate full time, you must know how to manage your finances, right? One great idea is to offset this downside is to set aside a rainy day fund. Again, this is not for everyone, but maybe you do have investors who are looking into wholesaling, and maybe one of you guys can be part of these wholesale transactions and make your money out of that. Okay. Finding buyers is the most challenging part. You can easily say this, hey, I have a buy I have this property is great, everything's perfect to you, and maybe you're seeing that, hey, I'm going to make 20 to 30 thousand dollars or $40,000 out of this flip, or sorry, not flip, but out of this wholesale deal, and I'm a realtor, so I'm going to find buyers in no time. It might not be the case, guys. It might be challenging to find that buyer, but if you play the cards right, if you have enough buyers in your database, maybe you can find it, but just make sure there is a risk for wholesaling. Okay. And exactly what this says here, you can, overcome this potential downside. You can line up buyers before making an initial offer to the seller. This way you can rest assured, hey, Mr. Buyer, I have this deal. It's going to be 425. I can, these are the specs for the property. And that person shows you proof of funds, and you have another buyer doing the same thing. So you have a couple of backups. Then you go ahead and make that offer for $400,000 and be under contract. And then a day or two later or a week later, whenever you want, you can just sell that contract or assign that contract to the new buyer. Okay. Guys, any questions before we move on from wholesaling? And Sheldon, you want to throw in anything pros cons for wholesaling? How tough it is, or how easy it is? Yep, perfect. Yep, yep. Thank you for that. Any other questions, comments, guys? All right, guys. So let's talk about our next topic, guys, is how to be a listing agent, right? As a realtor, it's great to be on the buyer's agent. As a buyer's agent, we already know about the whole commissions situation that's going on, but our focus should be being a listing agent. We want to focus on becoming a listing agent in 2024, as many as realtors as possible. Not everyone is capable on that level where they're really comfortable being a listing agent. They just being very comfortable. They have a full-time job or part-time job, and they're just very comfortable. Hey, they get a lead or two as a buyer's agent, or sometimes just the office leads, and they're satisfied, right? But if you want to make a career out of being a realtor, you have to focus on listings. You have to get comfortable, and you have to know what is going on in your home sellers or homeowners brain, or what is their situation as of today. Okay, now is the time to talk to homeowners and understand their situation. Right, you guys are already attending these meetings, you guys have a good idea how the market is going or where the market is going. So you want to implement all of that and throw it back at these homeowners when you're having these conversations. Okay, so first is that you want to be in their shoes. Right, so hopefully one of you guys can answer this question for me here. Right, um for you want to be in their shoes. What is their current interest rate and loan balance? Right, this is when you're talking to them. They have $1 million house. You want to talk to them and ask them, hey, what is your loan balance and what is your interest rate on this property? I'm asking you this so this way I can give you a takeaway amount that you're going to take away at the closing table. Right, so they will not show you any of their bank statements. They might just give you a rough idea. But if they're telling you, hey, I have a loan that's around $500,000 with 3.5% interest rate, right, they just give you that information. Would you sell that property? Any one of you guys, if you were in that situation, you have $1 million property, you have a $500,000 loan with 3.5% interest rate, would you sell? No. Okay, why not? But just in general, it's just a good investment. It's a beautiful investment, right? It's better than any other business, as we mentioned before, any better than any other business out there. Right, they're building equity all the time. Right, they have $1 million property, they have a $500,000 loan on this, and the mortgage is very little compared to 6 or 7% that we were mentioning as of today. They are 3.5%. So your goal should be, let me be in their shoes. Would I sell this property? Absolutely not. Right, the next thing is that if you don't have to, if they do have to, then we're going to talk about that. But just that situation itself, if they really had, they made a right move at the right time, they refinanced it at the right time, they should hold on to that property as long as they can and build that equity. If you were to just advise that client or that home seller, or just on that note, they already know that you're thinking for them. You're putting their interest first. You're advising them correctly because you're a realtor, and you can say, hey, this is the best investment you have. Right, you should not let go of this property anytime soon. I'm a realtor, I would love this listings, I would love to sell your property in a heartbeat. But right now for you, if you don't have to sell, don't sell. That should be that. But now let's talk about, why do you want to sell, or why do you have to sell? Nobody wants to sell. They, most of them, they just have to sell. Right, so these are the questions that you want to ask them. Number one is going to be motivations to sell. Why are you looking to sell your property? Maybe it's an upgrade. They want to, upgrade their property to, or they want to move to a different area. There could be a million different scenarios, but you want to ask them straight up, why are you looking to sell your property? Right? If you can hold on to it and let your equity build, there's no wrong answers here. Right? What is your desired timeline for selling? Do you want to sell it in next 3 months, next 6 months, next year? We have been, we with enough experience now with all our agents, there are deals that's being done after 2 years. You have a clients in your database and they're not ready to purchase or sell today, and they might take months and months to make that decision. So you want to ask them, hey, I'm having this conversation today with you, but when do you desire, what's your desired timeline for selling? And next is, have you already found a new home or have plans in place? Do you already have an idea? Maybe it could be their kids moving to a different state and they want to follow. We had that situation, client moving from here to Florida just because his daughter got married in Florida and she was there for a couple of years. Now he wanted to move there. So a lot of different things can happen. So these are the questions that you want to ask to for their motivation to sell. Next, you want to ask them about the property's background. Can you tell me any recent renovations or upgrades you have made? Anything that you have done today, let's say you put down $5,000 for renovations, I will make sure that you get that money back when we are selling this property, right? Maybe they had a brand new roof and it cost them a few $1,000s, maybe seven, $8,000 or something. They upgraded their kitchen or their basement or whatever the scenario might be, whatever their true cost was for that, you want to include it in your selling price, right? Are there any issues or repairs that potential buyers should be aware of, right? Maybe the boiler is 10, 15 years old and maybe the boiler needs to be replaced uh, you know uh, anytime soon. So you want to advise them, let's replace it if you want the maximum value. On the other hand, if the buyers come in, they're going to downgrade this property and give you lower offers. Okay. And tell me something positive about living in this property. What do you enjoy most about living about this property? Maybe it's the backyard. Maybe it's uh, I don't know, the basement. There could be a lot of different areas that they enjoy the way they set it up. So you want to ask them about that. Okay. And then this is very important. You want to make sure that they know about the pricing and what they're expecting from that. There's a lot of homeowners right now, they just feel like they have $1 million property. And then when you guys doing the comps as realtors and you said, hey, I don't think it's worth more than 850, and they're really asking, they're going overboard and they're thinking that, hey, it is actually worth $1 million. You have the tools. So you're asking them, hey, what price range are you considering to sell this property for? And let me do the comps and I'll tell you what I think. Some of these guys want to go as further as getting an appraisal done before they list it. So this way they have a good idea what the bank will appraise this a property at. So you can ask them, have you had any recent appraisal done for this property, right? And you can ask them, hey, are there any specific features or aspects of this property that you believe that adds more value to this property, right? Sometimes they have done it and they go overboard with getting the most expensive doors or most expensive kitchen sets, or the kitchen island, whatever the case might be. They're just spending a lot of money. Sometimes they can get that return, sometimes not. That's why you see that, a lot of homeowners, home builders that's going to simply flip that house. They don't put the nicest stuff or the most expensive stuff. They're just trying to get the job done, right? So you want to ask those questions. And you want to tell them, hey, are you familiar with the current real estate conditions in your area? Right? The interest rate went from 8% to 7%. And hopefully, when you're talking to these guys, maybe they come down even further. So you want to have that conversation. Do you know the current conditions for these conditions for the market in your area here? Right? And have you considered getting a comps, right? Can I do a CMA for you, competitive market analysis, to determine your property's value? If no other realtors have done it, let me give you two or three different reports. Hey, I have one Geodata, I have RPR, I have this Stratus, and let me show you what's available, what's on the market that's competing with you today, right? I have just seen it recently. There's one property that we put it up for almost $800,000, and then there's three other ones, similar specs, almost 50 to $70,000 lower. So we will definitely have less eyeballs when we're putting the price on that level. Let's do the comps correctly and make sure that we can price this property properly so we can sell it faster, right? Another one that we went under contract with recently, the listing price was almost 900,000 or 950, I believe, and they went under contract for low eights. So huge gap. Do your comps, tell them what's upfront, and let's not waste any time. Okay. So this is again asking the seller about financing and affordability. Do you currently have a mortgage on the property? If so, what's the outstanding balance that we asked earlier, right? Have you spoken to the lenders or a loan officer to understand your financial position and options for the next property? Right? We also have that situation too. When someone wants to sell a property and purchase the next one, there has to be some sort of money upfront where they have enough funds available for that, or sometimes they just simply need to sell this property, get that money from this property. This was their equity, and then they want to purchase the next property. So again, you want to ask these questions so you can know where they're landing. Okay. You want to ask them about showings and accessibility. Hey, what could I show this? What is most convenient for you, for the new potential buyers to come in and view the property? We work with your schedule, right? You tell me, hey, if I'm only available on this day and this time, I'll try my best to have all the buyers come in at that time, right? So for sale by owner, by sale by owners, right? Those properties, this is where they're having the biggest issues with. When you're for sale by owner, you were the one who have to deal with all of that instead of a realtor doing this for you. Okay. Any instructions that you are to follow? Can I put a lockbox if you don't live there? All that good stuff you guys gonna ask them, right? And for your market strategy, it's like sometimes they do have a market strategy, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they really heavy say, hey, I want to see this listing everywhere. I want to see it on Zillow, I want to see it on Redfin, I want to see it on all these websites. And you can tell them, rest assured, I'm a realtor. I'm going to put it on MLS, and it's going to be on all the websites, all the platforms that you can think of, right? Some of these guys do want you to do advertisement from your own pocket and making sure that you are promoting their property properly. And you can tell them and be honest with them, hey, I'm willing to spend some money on your property to make sure that we can sell this quickly as possible. Okay. And negotiation and offers. So you can ask them, hey, what is your bottom number? I know we're listing it for X amount of money, but you tell me, hey, this is my bottom number. So there's different strategies for negotiation. I can put it on the lower end and have more eyeballs, and we will have higher offers, or we can put it on the higher end and have some negotiation room. Both of these strategies work well, but it really depends on what's your preference, right? Some of these guys, old schoolers for sure, they will go with the higher end. There's some homeowners that say, hey, let's put on the lower end and let's get more people in and have a bidding war, right? So what's your moving plans, right? I know you said you're going to move to Florida and visit your daughter. When do you want to do this, right? Have you started making the plans to move? Do you need any assistance with that process? Let me be the helping hand and guide you if you need some, right? Are there any specific timelines or deadlines that you're working with to move? Again, this is urgency. You're trying to find out their situation and seeing where they land. All of these plans that we spoke about so far, right? We're not asking them about interest rate. We're not talking about interest rate. We're just telling them, hey, you need to move because of this, and let me show you what you need to do. And the last is your legal, information, basically where you need to sell. Are you familiar with your legal aspects, right? With the disclosures that I'm going to provide to you, do you need another attorney to take a look at it? Do you have a real estate attorney? Do you need any recommendation? Always go with their attorney first. If they have one, great. If not, recommend what we have on our teams here. Okay. So again, so this is the conversation that you want to have with the listing agent or with the owners. But how are we going to find these homeowners? No homeowner is going to call, MP directly and say, "Hey, MP, I want to sell this property." Or Sheldon, "Hey, I want to sell this property in Brooklyn." We have to find them, right? We have to get our name out there. Number one is going to be your online marketing, right? Some of you guys are really heavier than I. Some of them are, do not even have a Facebook or Instagram page, right? At least have your free pages up there and start posting, even post the things that we're promoting for you guys on WhatsApp groups and everything. Just post those different clips and things like that, and much as possible. And anytime you're doing that, promote your website. So your name.ljrealtyteam.net. So it'll be hassan.ljrealtyteam.net. And in there, if they click on sell option and they just type in the address, they can see exactly what we're seeing from geodata. So it's pretty powerful just typing in the address and they can get some idea. As soon as they're doing that, that becomes a lead in KV Core and you get that leads information. So you want to promote online much as possible. The second one is that a lot of listing agents that's really only focus on listings, they make sure that your direct mail campaigns is part of their advertisement. Postcards, they just go with one or two different areas. There's no way you guys can cover whole New York or just Queens or Nassau. They are huge counties, right, with millions and millions of people living there, and there's so many different routes. So you just want to pick one to two or three different areas and start promoting yourself and postcards. Trust me, postcards, they do work. It's just that they are costly, and sometimes you don't see the results in the first or second time, and most of these agents just give up on that. But just imagine before all this, online things that we have, all these social media platforms, there were still top listing agents in the country. How were they doing it? Direct mail campaigns. So you want to really consider those and make sure that you have those as your advertisement channels, right? And anytime you're promoting that, you're a realtor, you already have the tools to evaluate these properties. You don't need an appraisal for that. So why not tell every homeowner, hey, I do free home valuation. First, let me go take a look at the property. Let me see what type of work it needs done and everything. And let me evaluate it for free for you. There's no obligations. You don't have to sign any documents, right? That should be your approach to the homeowners. And you guys want to network, right, as much as possible. You want to attend local events. I don't care if it's from our agency or if you're doing it with other companies out there. Just network, get your name out there, right? Each one of you guys are independent contractors where you guys are already hustling, doing a lot. So why not attend these local events, community gatherings, or any real estate networking events to connect with other potential sellers, right? Ask our loan officers to attend your open houses. Guys, if you're watching this recording later on, please ask our loan officers to attend your open houses. If the homeowner sees that, they will be impressed. Hey, I have this realtor and he's or she's bringing in another loan officer to my house and they're working really hard to get this job done. And your job is simple, find them a buyer quickly as possible. Okay. And I believe the last thing is for your expired listings, right? You want to focus on expired listings. If the listing was on the market for 6 months, you guys have access to that through MLS Stratus. Just keep an eye on those listings. Call them up, right? Sometimes you cannot get their phone numbers directly. There's other websites you can. We will discuss that. But you want to get in touch with them and you want to see what went wrong with that property. Was the price too high? Were they under contract and it just fell through? Where they're simply not happy with their realtor, whatever the situation is, you want to ask them. There's so many listing agents that make at least 40 or 50% of their listings through expired listings. Another agent tried it, didn't work out. Let me try it and let me help you out. Okay. If you see a for sale by owner sign anywhere, you should stop your car, get out of the car, and look at the phone number, call that number, knock on the door, do the whole 9 yards. If you see a for sale by owner sign, because that is your client. As a realtor, that is your client. He's trying to do your job. You want to make sure that you can grab that client and turn him into a as a listing, right? You already know all the pros that you need to convince them that, hey, you are a better deal than them trying to buy or sell their property on their own. Okay. Remember, consistency is the key in real estate marketing. Doesn't matter what you're doing. It could be online, it could be offline, it could be networking, but you just have to do it consistent. Last year we did not. We just attended one or two events. Next in 2024, our goal is to attend at least 6 different events. That's our personal goal, LJ, and hopefully we'll do a lot more. But 6 different events. It could be in springtime or summertime. So just be ready to be part of those as well, guys. But we want to see consistency, when it comes to any type of marketing. All right, guys. I have a lot more slides, but we ran out of time, guys. But we just want to focus on your wholesaling and how to talk to your homeowners to be a listing agent in 2024, guys. I hope that this really helps, that you guys can use some of these key points. We'll share all the slides, even the ones that we did not review today. But you guys tell me, questions, concerns, anything on your mind? Anyone? Okay. Got about a minute left. Just want to mention a couple of things in here, which is our meeting, guys. Oh, our Christmas party. Please do not forget. It's gonna be happening on December 23rd, from 6 to 9 p.m. at our office here. Not too sure how many people will attend, but please, if you guys can come, please do come. No need to bring any gifts. We'll play that game with our own office gifts here. Everyone will get one, and there will be an Agent of the Year award. So please do attend. We have a couple of candidates, and we'll see who will win that award. Okay, that will do it from my end, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I'll see you guys next week. Take care, guys. क्या ठीक हो बस